And I would like to introduce Linda Christiansen Ruffman by name and nation, Canada. She teaches at St. Mary's University. She's a long-time activist in Nova Scotia, which is one of the more deprived areas of Canada, more of the hinterland of Canada, working in many, many different ways. Too many to enumerate here. Linda.
But before I get to my paper, which is now called Patriarchal Capitalist Progress, 500 Years is Too Much, as opposed to what you'll see in the program, which was a much more scholarly sounding title. But since this is since when I saw the title of this particular session, I decided that it was not appropriate. So I've rewritten this paper so many times that I have no idea exactly what I want to say. But I did want to definitely start by having everyone look out at that beautiful mural that's outside there and see what Mother Nature is constantly shaping for us and changing as her sun goes around the sky, as the wind comes in. It's just been absolutely beautiful and an incredibly, fantastic place to see this, to see the real art that nature brings, and to begin to see that as really an incredible mural, better than any of us could probably paint. Certainly better than I could paint ever, but I think it's a really important reminder of the importance of Earth, of the importance of grounding ourselves and our lives and in our joy of nature and the wind and the sky and the earth and the water. And I just wanted us all to as we look at that, to think and to give thanks to the many women who have guided us on our way. I want to mention Muriel Duckworth, who died at 101, or almost 101. She would have been 101 on October 31st. And I want to also just thank everyone here for sharing your lives and your thoughts and everything with us all. I think it's really been, again, one of the things that's incredible, despite the fact that that I personally was losing it last night because I just had gotten too much information. It's also great to be just surrounded by ideas that are consistent with the grounding where I stand. And although I teach in a university and thought we were creating a women's studies which was an activist and oriented to social transformative change, unfortunately too many of my colleagues don't agree with that. The paper I was going to give today was part of a project that I'm working on with Emanuel Wallerstein, who is one of the founders of world systems theory. It looks at the world system from 1500 to the present time. And I was invited, somewhat belatedly, to be part of this. I and one other woman who's looking at the environment had been left out of the original agenda. But we are now there, and and so I'm trying to think about the world system and how equality and gender spaces have changed throughout that. He suggested 500 years. The hypothesis of this study is that in fact things have been becoming more polarized, not less polarized in the world, and that in fact, or at least over this period of time, from 1500 to the present, and in fact that progress has been a myth. It's been a myth that in fact was articulated started out I guess in the Enlightenment, the myth of progress, and started out as well with using Aristotle as one of the entrances into the academy. And so basically starting out with patriarchal knowledge. And it is our world in some ways, and our scholarship is a construction of what has happened since then. What I am trying to do, what I negotiated with him to date is that I didn't want to start with 1500, because I also want to show that progress has not been great for women, and that I think we're going backwards rather than forward if we look at that whole period of time. And so I've negotiated so far back to 1300. I know that people here would like to do it a lot longer.
Yeah.
And I would also like people to help me, because I haven't been very successful in raising money for this particular project. But I'd like you to think about making various sorts of graphs, thinking about what the myth of progress is and what real progress has been in terms of women's equality, women's personhood, women's ability to do what they want, women's ability to shape the world in the way that we want. And I realized that when I was in Labrador, working with women in the mid-70s, that in fact, I thought with almost a PhD from Columbia University, the very best, taught by all men because there were no women on faculty at that time in the graduate program, that in fact, I wasn't as brilliant as I thought. I didn't realize something that the women I was studying did realize, and they realized that they were women. That had been totally socialized out of me by the graduate education that I had almost achieved. I got my PhD in 76, and I was there from 75 to 77, 78. And it began me on a long journey. First of all, to reclaim the fact that I was a woman. Second of all, to begin to see patriarchy, not only in day-to-day relationships and patterns, but also as institutionalized in our society, in things like individualism, in things like the myth of progress, in things like abstract out of context and universalize your brilliant ideas. And all of those things are, I think, important. So what I'd like to do is just to invite you here, people here, to help me figure out, to work on this project. If you have some ideas, if you have some graphs. To be honest, I'm not a student of history. I don't, and this is the world system. So we're not only interested in, Canada or the States or North America, but the world. And so I would love help from any of you, and all of you. Thank you.